Hey everyone, welcome to today's edition of One Single Story. It is Tuesday, and we're in the book of Proverbs this week, Proverbs 13. I'm with Chris Rexroad and Jay Rivenbark. And Proverbs 13 says, "A wise child accepts a parent's discipline, a mocker refuses to listen to correction. Wise words will win you a good meal, but treacherous people have an appetite for violence. Those who control their tongue will live a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything. Lazy people want much but get little, but those who work hard will prosper. The godly hate lies, the wicked cause shame and disgrace. Godliness guards the path of the blameless, but the evil are misled by sin. Some who are poor pretend to be rich, and others who are rich pretend to be poor. The rich can pay a ransom for their lives, but the poor won't even get threatened. 11, wealth from a get-rich-quick schemes quickly disappears, but wealth from hard work grows over time." So I want to focus in on one thing, because Proverbs says a lot about money.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, there's a verse that I read. It's a part of my prayer this year. I added it for something specific that I'm praying for, from the book of Proverbs. And hang on, I'll read it to you, because I don't think we're going to talk about it. Well, it's not coming up now, but it talks about long life being in wisdom's right hand, and riches and honor in the other hand. And with Solomon asked for wisdom. One of the things God said, "I'm going to give you fame and riches because you asked for wisdom."
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to me that when you read scripture, that fame and riches are an outtake of wisdom. Like, you very rarely meet wise broke people. No, that's not right. Poor people. That's what I should say. You very rarely. I'm getting ready. I'm probably going to get a whip taken to me after that. But like, you just rarely do. They either they one or the two. They're famous because they're smart and have a position of influence, or they have attained resources. So the question today is, what role does wisdom play in finances? What are some of the things that this proverb, because this one is a clear, like, one-liners. It's a bunch of one-liners. It's not much together. What are some of the things in this proverb, maybe other proverbs, that point us the role of wisdom in money?
Definitely in management of it, and how you view it and how you use it, stewardship, and knowing its purpose. I mean, especially for the believer, knowing where these, we're just going to call them resources, come from, and how we use it. Because if we use these resources in a wise way, God's going to want to, you could say, bless us, but he's going to want to utilize you more for his kingdom. So wisdom plays a big role in finances, whether it's your own personal or other ones that you're in charge of.
The first one that I noted was in verse 4, where he talks about lazy people. When you talk about finances and wisdom, I think you have to understand there's some expectation of you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just being completely transparent. I don't feel sorry for poor/broke people who are lazy.
Yeah.
Because if you have the opportunity and ability to improve your situation, it's just a matter of you just won't do it, then I'm sorry for you. I mean, and that is very scripturally based, and he points that out right early in the chapter. Then he talks about other things, about thinking before you act. You know, you need to have some common sense comes into play to that. There's a passage later in the chapter where he talks about, you've walked with the wise, you become wise. If you want to learn about money and finances and do a better job, then probably one of the best sources is to hang out with people or talk to people who've been there, done that, or done it better than you have, so that you can pick up from some of that.
Yeah. Don't talk to
Yeah.
don't talk to broke financial planners.
Yeah, please don't.
and fat health advisors.
Yeah.
Like
But so many times we
do.
tend to chase quote wisdom from folks, and you mentioned this in a previous podcast about having already demonstrated proficiency in a particular area, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, you got to know that they've had some success in some kind.
Yeah, in some arena.
Yeah,
for some period of time,
and some of it is temperament, because I think there would be people who would come to me for advice that wouldn't go to you, Jay, but there are other people who would go to you that wouldn't come to me, and most of it is temperament because the way I gain any money is different than the way you would have gained any money, and our approach to it doesn't make either of them wrong or bad. It's just some of it's temperament. I would say it's mostly personality.
Absolutely. But there is wisdom perhaps to be gained in
both places. And if your temperament is such that, and you choose even the wrong person, somebody with your temperament that comes and says, "I want to do what you do," like they're gonna be frustrated, depressed, and the same would be the opposite. That. And I think that is important for us to note. The first one I noted in there was wise words will win you a good meal in verse 2. There are benefits that you gain just from being wise, which puts you in the right place at the right time. I mean,
truly,
that like it benefits your finances. I see people that are so, I think I think wisdom guides your work, the work you choose, the vocation that you choose, the path that you go down to be able to choose the right job. I talk to so many people that hate their job. Mm-hmm. I don't know if y'all have those conversations. Do the people in y'all circle have? Like, I'm like,
or
quit.
It's just a job, right. That they don't really get anything out of it. It's just an income.
Well, that's fine with me. Like I'm there. I do things to make money. That's whatever, you take it or leave it. And I ain't excited about annuities
but it's not something you're committed to.
That's
on
right.
a daily basis.
But from a job perspective, like I can't imagine going, God, I hate my job. I hate the people I deal with. I hate the people. Like, not quit and find something. I would rather. Now, this is my philosophy. I would rather be broke, because broke is temporary. Poverty is not temporary. Broke should be a temporary condition, and we confuse the two. Some of the things that we call poverty and poor are just broke people who are in a bad situation, a season of life, have made some bad choices. That's broke. That ain't poverty, and they got it. And I'm fine helping them work that out. But poverty is different. It's like an underlying condition that's present. And sometimes that's generational. That has to be broken.
Oh, yeah. Mentality, what they were taught or what they weren't taught.
Yeah. And I would say wisdom is the ability. Some people will say you can't unlearn. There are some things you better learn how to do differently. You may still remember the old way.
Yeah, you might be able. Yeah, you can't unlearn something, because once you have the knowledge of something, whether it's good or bad knowledge, you can't take it out, but you can choose to not apply it.
You don't have to practice it repeatedly.
Yeah.
So what's the best financial advice y'all have ever been given?
Plan for retirement early. Start that investment early.
I was going to say...
You were going to say, don't get married.
No, I was going to say marry into money. But yeah, I didn't.
You missed that. Both. Me either.
Yeah, I didn't. But yeah, or planning for retirement early would certainly be one of those. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a home certainly that didn't have a lot of finances. We'll make that clear. But lived by principles that you didn't spend more than you take in, and that giving tithing, generosity was a big part of that. That had to be a priority. And so to learn those lessons, of giving and generosity, living within your means, whatever that looked like, those were extremely valuable lessons for me to learn early on in life that were modeled to me.
I think it was verse 7, basically talking about people that don't have money that live like they do.
Pretending.
Basically putting on that facade.
Yeah.
You just dig a big hole.
Both ways.
Yeah, he dresses
Pretending to be poor.
and others who are rich.
I think both of them.
Oh, yeah.
Both of them probably get on my nerves.
Yeah.
Mm.
I hate to see. It's like. Like, I know some broke farmers. I don't know poor farmers.
Mm.
But they will cry poverty more than any other group of people I've ever met in my life.
You're losing a big segment of your audience.
I'm just saying, like, it's just a fact. It's just a fact of life. But I know people. There was a guy. Somebody in the listens may know who he was. I could say his name, but I'm not. He was one of the richest men I ever knew.
Mm.
But he went to extreme lengths to make sure nobody else knew that if they saw him. Like he wore the rattiest old clothes. He drove a ratty old pickup. He lived in a ratty old house. I mean, like it was, when I say it was ratty, I mean that it was horrible. But he was loaded. I don't know if he's still living or not, this guy, but he was loaded.
So was his a false sense of poverty? I mean, trying to convey that message, or was he content just with who he was and what he had? Because there's a difference.
There are things that I think things get bred in both ways. So I listen on the some who are poor pretend to be rich. T.D. Jakes, I heard recently a sermon clip he was talking about. And he was saying one of the reasons why people in the black community, for example, will spend everything to buy one Louis Vuitton bag or one Gucci bag is because they have been so poor that for them, it's like a leg up. They want people to see that they are moving. They want to show somebody that they've done something. It's a sign that they've had some accomplishment. A sign as much to the people that they're leaving behind as it is anybody. But I think sometimes things get ingrained in us. I would tell you that I would tell you some of the things for me that I struggle with. I'm thankful I'm at a place of life that I'm much more financially comfortable than I was in my younger years. But I often have concerns about how is this going to be perceived? What do people think? Are they going to think I am trying to be rich or I am rich? There's a certain amount of shame that comes either way. You don't want people, sometimes you have a group of friends, and if you move to a new neighborhood, you're going to be without those friends, if you drive a different kind of vehicle. And a lot of it is perception. I drive a 2018 Mercedes convertible. And I get more people say something about that vehicle. Oh, you rolling now?
Yeah.
Well, I used to drive a $75,000 diesel pickup truck. And nobody ever said that about that.
It's perception.
That's right. And it costs more than the car did. It is perception. It is sometimes it's branding. It's people's branding. So I think it can work both ways. I don't know whether he was content or not. If I had to, his name, well, I'm not going to say his name. And some of it he inherited. That's the other thing I would say. He was raised as a farmer. His father would have been a farmer. he did not farm as far as I know, but much of what he received came from a farming family. But he grew up with that hardworking laborer, mentality, and he lived the rest of his life looking like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the things I saw is I never saw him enjoy it. And maybe he did, I don't know. I just never saw him enjoy some of those things. And I don't know. Why do you think people try to look rich or try to look poor?
I mean, there's some obvious things where if some people that are rich that play it off as being poor is they don't want anybody, kind of like with winning the lottery, everybody becomes your best friend, everybody wants a piece, everybody you don't want to deal with all that headache. Um, but yeah, I think that some people can probably just live a simple life and be content with it, even though that they have a lot of stuff. But those resources are there for you to exercise in different ways. I mean, they're there if you're looking at it from a godly perspective. They're there for you to use to grow different things or to help other people. Not in the sense that you need to give it all away by any means, because God's going to use you as a manager of those things.
Mhm.
But I don't know, and I think there are some people that just kind of have finances or anything else have kind of a hoarding mentality on it, or a fear that enough is never enough. Like the story of building the barns, and I'm going to build a bigger barn, and I'm going to build a bigger barn, and
Yeah, I
Okay.
think sometimes it's a diversion. People don't, like you said, they don't want to be perceived that way, because some people, they'll be alienated by it, or be jealous toward them. They just want to be low key. I have seen people who do that, the quote rich who pretend to be poor, simply as a means of a conversation starter. So it opens opportunity for them actually to talk about their success.
Mm-hmm.
They may make offhanded comments or whatever,
mhm.
just so you will ask them questions. And I would say, I know we're talking about finances, but verse 7, he said, some who are poor pretend to be rich. I do think personally, for me, those are sometimes the most miserable people to be around, where they want to try to impress, flaunt, and they carry themselves to say things, and wannabes. For instance, and
I was just having this conversation. I can't say. Well, yeah. Anyway, I was having a conversation with somebody about this event that was going on, and they were asking me about a specific person,
mm,
and I said they're all pretenders.
mm,
I said I would bet money that half of them are broke, and I said the other half ain't got near what.
mm.
I said, but what we're gonna see is like this big old pretentious thing, and I don't do good with people who pretend either way.
Mm.
Rich trying to be poor. I almost laughed when you were talking, because I have a friend who he ain't hurting, he's fine, but he refuses to carry cash because he don't like people asking him for money. He wants to be able to say,
I don't have
I don't have
any.
any.
Yeah.
The greatest thing in the world happened though recently. We were together in a big city, and we passed by this guy, and the guy was asking for money. He said, "Can I have some money?" And the guy that was with me, he said, "I don't have no cash." He said, "That's all right. I take
credit
Cash App."
cards.
No, he said, "I take Cash App." And
I'm gonna whip out a
dying
portable credit
laughing.
card on his
Well,
cell
because
phone.
then all of a sudden I had a lot of questions. How you got a phone?
Uh-huh.
That was the first question I had. Of course, everybody's got a phone now. I mean,
Literally.
that would be the thing. If I was homeless, that'd be the first thing I'd want.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. He's like, "I take Cash App." I was like, "That is great."
Wow.
You can Venmo me.
Venmo to homeless people.
Oh,
It was
wow.
that was priceless. It was one of those
Yeah.
moments I said that is fantastic. But I have friends who tone down things. I think I probably know more people who are pretentiously rich, and they broke. I've been there. It looked like something it won't.
Mm.
It's a lot different than it is today, but it looked like something it won't. But I know other people who pretend down. And in my experience, the number one reason why people low key it is to keep other people from getting in their business and asking them, either for money, because if people find out you got something, they want it, either they want you to give it to whatever their cause is, or they want you to loan it to them for whatever their need is, one of the two things. I would say, I ask y'all what the best financial advice you ever got. I think the three simple things is earn and save and give.
Yeah.
If you learn to do those things, and I would probably reverse the saving and the giving order. If you earn, you give first, save second, and then you learn to spend after that. If you never spend money until you've earned it, given it, and saved it, you'll have a
great shape.
Relatively stress-free life.
Yeah.
And the problem with most people is they spend first, then they earn it. Like, how much do I have to earn to make this payment?
To cover that.
How much how much have I got to get to do this? Sometimes they give, and the last thing they do is save, and then they get to the end of their life, and they've lived a miserable life, and they have nothing left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for joining us today on this conversation about money and the book of Proverbs. Hope you'll be back tomorrow as we continue a Proverbs conversation.